Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did, so let's get started. Number 5 was the Bob's Burgers movie, making $1.1 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $29 million and a worldwide total of $31 million. So while this movie was able to hang around in the top 5 for one more weekend, it's still not enough to help this movie out. It is barely on the cusp of surpassing 30 million domestically, and it just barely surpassed that worldwide. This is a pretty low turnout for this movie, unfortunately, and it's not getting the recognition or reception it deserves at the box office right now. Even if it didn't cost 60 to 70 million as the rumors stated, this is still a pretty low turnout. It's probably not going to be here anytime sooner. This is definitely going to be the last time we see it in the top 5, given we've got a pretty busy weekend ahead of us, and the rest of the summer movies are most certainly going to bog this down, sadly. And as a Bob's Burgers fan, as I've said it many times before, this just really hurts, especially when you're a fan of both the show and the movie. But they didn't market it, and they chose to not market it well, and this is what they got. And apparently its theatrical window will be cut shorter than many would have probably expected, as it was reported that this movie will be streaming on Hulu and HBO Max as early as July 12th. So hopefully the same thing that happened with Encanto and West Side Story when they released on those streaming services, and that helped them boom up their success and receive the recognition they deserved. I think that, well, it won't be up to probably Encanto's success. It'll probably get some much needed recognition and much better reception than it got in theaters, as right now this is a very low turnout. In terms of the summer box office, it is the 7th biggest movie of the summer, but it's certainly going to get knocked down out of the top 10 for sure. And overall, this is just a pretty disappointing box office turnout, which hurts, but what are you gonna do? Hopefully it does better on streaming, but yeah, this is not the best total for the Bob's Burgers movie. Number 4 was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, making $4.4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $405 million and a worldwide total of $942 million. So the film has finally surpassed $400 million domestically, making it the 10th MCU film to do so, which is fantastic, and it puts its worldwide total just less than $60 million away from $1.1 billion worldwide. And even though it's so close to that goal, I also think it's so far. The film has been slowing down significantly at this point, and it seems that it's lost all of its hype to Thor: Love and Thunder, which is coming out in 2 weeks. And as sooner as we get closer to that movie, the more likely this movie will be losing steam, as I do think this might be one of, if not the last time we see Doctor Strange in the top 5, but this was still such a fantastic run at the box office, having the highest opening weekend of the year and becoming the biggest movie of the year worldwide. That just the sheer fact that it was able to become so close to 1 billion worldwide is an achievement right now, and the fact that it was even able to surpass 400 million domestically as well is a fantastic achievement. It was a Marvel movie, and it made Marvel movie money. I don't see how anyone would look at these totals and these numbers and think this was a poor performance at the box office. This certainly did very well, and I can't see anyone who would be upset at this movie and how it did. The only reason anyone would be a little bit bummed out by how well it would do is if you're like me and you predicted it to be the highest grossing movie of the summer, as it is not anymore, as the new highest grossing movie of the summer and of the year is the number 3 film, Top Gun Maverick, which made $44 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $466 million and a worldwide total of $885 million. So this movie continues to be a juggernaut, as it only dipped 15% in its 4th weekend, and in terms of all-time records, it is the fourth film in history to make over 40 million in its fourth weekend, fourth behind Black Panther, Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Avatar. That is an incredible achievement for this movie, and let alone to dip 15% in its fourth weekend. Word of mouth is clearly carrying this movie over and over again. And oh yeah, did I mention that this movie is the highest grossing movie of the year domestically and the summer? Because it is now officially the highest grossing movie of the summer and of the year domestically. That's right, folks. Top Gun Maverick was able to surpass Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and is on its way to surpass 500 million domestically, which I wouldn't be surprised if it manages to do so by next weekend. It is just such a huge juggernaut. It is not slowing down anytime soon. It is also Tom Cruise's biggest movie ever, both domestically and worldwide, both surpassing World of the Worlds domestically and Mission Impossible Fallout. And it is also Paramount's second biggest movie of all time domestically, behind Titanic, and their fourth biggest movie of all time worldwide, behind Transformers Age of Extinction, Transformers Dark of the Moon, and once again Titanic. This movie has just done so incredibly well. I clearly underestimated how well this movie was going to do in the summer, let alone the year. I cannot see any movie surpassing this movie for such a long time. It's really going to be a while before another movie does this well in this year. What will it be at this moment? I do not know, but it's certainly going to have to be quite the juggernaut to surpass this movie. I have no idea what else to say. I do not know when this movie is going to slow down. Top Gun Maverick is just exceeding all expectations, and I cannot be happier that it is doing so. Job well done. Number 2 was Lightyear, opening with 50 million domestically this weekend and 86 million worldwide. So while there were many ways where this was seen as a solid opening, I mean, the fact that 3 out of the top 5 films this weekend making over 40 million this weekend is a very good thing for movie theaters. And in terms of Pixar films, this is their biggest opening weekend since Toy Story 4, as it was able to open bigger than Onward back in March of 2020. And in terms of animated films released in the post-theater closure era, this is the biggest opening weekend for any animated film domestically releasing post-theater closure era, topping Encanto's 27 million opening weekend back in Thanksgiving, as well as The Bad Guys, Sing 2, and The Addams Family 2 as well. Those are indicators of a pretty solid opening, but when you take a look at the budget-wise and the predictions for this movie, this actually came quite under what many people expected. Certainly my expectations. I thought this movie would probably open around 85 to 90 million, and many people were expecting a little bit lower on that end, 77 to 85 million. And I even saw some folks saying, hey, this movie could make even 100 million domestically this weekend, but it didn't. So why did this happen? Well, while I don't think there is a definitive answer, I do have 2 theories as to what happened here, because many of us were expecting it to do better than it did, and it actually, in terms of family films, came in behind Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which opened to much bigger numbers back in April, where this is a summer movie and it made less than that. So here's theory number 1. First off, reviews weren't that great. They weren't horrible or anything, but for a Pixar film, they certainly weren't the best. So that probably turned people away and made people go, oh, well, this isn't up to the Pixar standards. It's not something really to rush out to go see in a movie theater. I guess it's not really up there to my standards, why bother? So I guess that probably might have been a turnoff for some people, as they probably were expecting something much bigger and grander for Pixar's return to theaters. But That is where theory number 2 comes in. This is Pixar's first film in 2 years, as their last 3 films, Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, were all dumped onto Disney Plus for free. And I think that really damaged a lot of this film's box office success in a way, as it probably gave off the stigmatism and probably made everyone go, oh, well, since this is a new Pixar film, it'll be on Disney Plus in a few months. I can wait that out. It'll be nothing. We don't have to rush out to see it in the theater. And while that might be a good idea for some family members, it's not a good scenario for Disney and certainly Pixar if they want to continue releasing animated films theatrically on the big screen, as this is starting to really hurt their box office, with more families opting to wait to Disney Plus because Disney made watching Pixar films that way more suitable for families. Again, 3 of their latest films, but all of which were very solid films, I might add, all went to Disney Plus, and they all did gangbusters on the streaming service, whereas this, which seemed to be a huge tentpole animated film, it was said to be amongst one of, if not the biggest animated film of the year, and it came in way below expectations. And while I don't think this movie is going to flop per se, as animated films have done very well in the post-theater closure era. I mean, Sing 2 did very well, competing against stuff like Spider-Man No Way Home, and most recently, The Bad Guys was a huge, big sleeper hit. It didn't really blow the doors off, but it managed to make a decent profit for itself. And while I don't think Lightyear is in trouble just yet, it could still hold very well, as with animated films and family films have done in the past. It is a very stiff summer for animated films. We've got 3 animated films coming out in July, and including its opening weekend, Lightyear only has 2 weeks before Minions: The Rise of Gru hits theaters, and that is certainly going to eat up a lot of this film's audience, to say the least. So I definitely think that those were the 2 factors that kind of hurt Lightyear. It's going to need a lot of help to gain any sort of real boost of success, because right now, while it is not in trouble, this is a bit concerning, to say the least. I think this movie could do a lot better had Disney probably put more attention on seeing this in theaters, and hopefully they learn the right lesson on doing what they do with their Marvel movies or their huge tentpole movies, encouraging audiences to go see these movies in theaters rather than wait on Disney Plus, because I'm certain they don't want any more of their animated films to be underperforming the way they've been doing with like stuff like Strange World later this year and Elemental hitting theaters probably, maybe, next summer. So we'll see how well it does in the long run. It's quite on par with something like Cars 3, his opening weekend, and that movie didn't really crush it at the box office. It did fine, and unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised to see Lightyear doing about the same as that movie. Its opening is not terrible, but given the $200 million price tag and the expectations going in, it could have done so much more. I don't think it's anything to be worried about, but it is something to be a little concerned about. So we'll see where Lightyear goes from here. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and that was once again Jurassic World Dominion, making $59 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $250 million and a worldwide total of $626 million. So this movie took a bit of a hit this weekend. It fell 59% from last weekend, which honestly is actually nearly on par with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's second week drop off back from 2018, and like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, this really doesn't amount to anything because the movie has already made so much money. It's about 50 million away from 300 million domestically, which is fantastic to say the least, and it's certain to become the 3rd movie this year to surpass that total domestically, and it has already surpassed 600 million worldwide. It has definitely made well over its budget of 185 million, and it is already Universal's biggest movie of the year. I can't see any reason why they would be upset where this movie is at. I don't think this movie is going to play out similarly to Top Gun Maverick. It just doesn't seem like that. Even though word of mouth is certainly helping this movie out, I can definitely say it's not going to do what that movie is doing right now. But this shouldn't disparage the fact that this movie is such a huge hit. It should do about on par, or maybe make a little less than Fallen Kingdom, and even that isn't that bad, as that's still such a huge amount of money. I'm not sure if it's going to get to $1 billion, however, given how the reaction is a bit lukewarmer. Am I even using that term right? I don't know. Than Fallen Kingdom, but I do think that it's still going to make a huge amount of money. For in terms of 2022 movies, it should do probably similar or a little less than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Probably, it's such a huge hit right now. The fact that it was able to top the Buzz Lightyear movie, a Disney Pixar movie, is fascinating to me. We live in a very weird time right now. It is definitely the year of surprises, to say the least. So I don't really have much more to say about this movie. It's doing very well right now. Audiences are certainly eating it up. We'll see if it can continue to maintain these core audiences and appease them for the coming weeks before other big tentpole movies like Thor and Nope start arriving this summer. But yeah, overall, Jurassic World Dominion, while a little bit of a hit this weekend, is showing no signs of really falling to the wayside. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have 2 new major wide releases, the first being The Black Phone. This is a new horror film from the writing duo behind Sinister and Doctor Strange, because those two have some connection somehow. And it's about a kid who gets kidnapped by a magician of some sort, and the most horrifying things you could imagine entail from there. Pretty much all I will give away from the movie, basically. And while I don't think this is going to be a blockbuster opening weekend, I can definitely see this movie surprising in ways similar to how Everything Everywhere All at Once did, or even how Scream 5 was able to do really well earlier in the year. As I do think the buzz is really strong with this movie, people are interested in it, and I do think it's been a while since we've had a horror movie breakout similar to Scream 5. In fact, I think Scream 5 was the last major big horror film of the year, because everything else was either in limited or just flopped. But anyways, yeah, the buzz and interest with this movie is really strong. The marketing has been pretty solid, and reviews are really solid. I've been seeing and hearing nothing but good things about this movie. People are saying it's a really effective, scary horror movie. So once again, I don't think it's going to be like something like It or Us per se, because this is still The Black Phone. It's not that it's like a crappy movie or anything, it's just that it's an original film, and those usually tend to open on the lower end. But I can definitely see this surprising in a way and catching people off guard and go, oh wow, this movie did better than expected. And once again, this is also like a part of the Blumhouse production family tree sort of thing, so the film probably doesn't cost that much. So either way, this movie will probably make its budget back. So yeah, I expect some pretty solid things for The Black Phone. Then the other film releasing is Elvis. Now, I gotta be honest, in my opinion, I believe this is quite the wild card, as there are so many ways where I can see this movie exceeding and failing in epically proportional ways. First off, it is a musical biopic based off of the king of rock himself, Elvis Presley, and he's such a beloved, well-known figure in the name of music that I think anyone would be interested in seeing a movie about him. And so far, the buzz around the performance by the leading man, Austin Butler, is very strong. The marketing has been pretty good. I've been seeing a lot of promotion for it, and we were able to win over older audiences back into the movie theaters with Top Gun Maverick. And I think there's a lot of older audiences who are certainly interested in this movie. The downside is that, once again, this is an older audience type film, and those have usually been the most hesitant on returning to theaters. Now, like I just said like seconds ago, we were able to win them over back with Top Gun Maverick. The real question is, will we be able to keep enticing them to return? Was Top Gun good enough to say, yep, I'm going to come back to the movies for the rest of the year, or wait for those special movies? This is really the one that could make or break that statement. As far as everything else goes with this movie, reviews are good, just good from what I'm hearing. You're either on board with this nutsy insanity or you're not. And it also has the benefit of only costing around 85 million from what I've heard, though I could be wrong. So yeah, it could find a way to make a profit for itself. But again, with the older audience and the reviews not being up to par, I could see this movie hurting. But there's also ways where I could see this movie being really successful. Lots to think about with this movie based off of Elvis Presley. But we'll see how well this movie does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied? Unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.